Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Amy McNee, SVP of Global Solution Architecture at Informatica. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Latha Subramanian, CDO and SVP Global Data Engineering and Analytics with GM Financial. So, Latha, welcome today. So, kind of conversely, what are your biggest concerns and what do you suggest that people need to keep an eye out for?
I think just jumping into the bandwagon of GenAI because every company is doing it is a serious mistake. It is very important for you, for the company to, if there is even a discussion on GenAI, to peel back and decide how you're going to modernize your data. Modernizing your data on the cloud and creating a scalable and extensible architecture is very important, but is highly underrated is that you have to build your business glossary. You have to have a single definition of source of truth for your customers because the minute you empower Gen AI and you build your Gen AI center of excellence, it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. So if you want to have meaningful predictions and insights, it's very important to modernize your data, bring it on the cloud, and create a very strong business glossary and infuse data governance framework into your programs. And that's why most major programs fail because you build it on old technologies or you don't know what your data means and you're not able to curate it, and then you get insights that just don't make sense, or you get false predictions and false outcomes which may not necessarily hold good in terms of making informed business decisions.
Well, at Informatica, we couldn't agree with you more on the idea of governance and building out a catalog. I promise I did not prompt Lada to say that. So thank you for that. I think that's really important. I think the other thing, one I can kind of continue to remind people of this. You talked about some of the mistakes that people make. And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is not having business oriented metrics around their governance program. And what I mean by that is we talk about like data quality, for instance, and we say, oh, we have 100% data completeness, uniqueness, all of that. But we actually don't talk about like the improvement before, from before to after we instituted a data quality program in our data. And so I think we need to do a better job. That's probably the biggest mistake I see is having technically oriented metrics to show success versus business oriented metrics to show success. I don't know if you agree with that or you see that as well as a habit.
I do. I do. And I think one of the important things to do when you set up Gen AI is to make sure you have a well defined governance structure for that. You have to have an executive committee which has some representation from the board, and you need to have a subcommittee that is informing and advising and escalating to the main committee, because that is how decisions flow through up and down, and all of the company's data assets are governed, and you're producing the right outputs with Gen AI, and you're making the right decisions for the company globally. So yes, that's very important.
Yeah, I think it's your point there is also really important, making sure things are governed because now, AI goes even further than some of the other regulations we've seen. Some of the regulations coming out around AI, where we're seeing some of them have penalties that could be a percent of your company's revenue. It's not a fixed amount, so the risk is high. The potential penalty is high if you don't make sure that the right people have access to the right data at the right time. So I think those are all really important. So look, we're kind of coming to a close, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the CDO role. So that's been an interesting role that's evolved certainly quite a lot over the last 5 to 10 years. And I wonder if you have any advice that you might give to someone who is in the CDO role or thinking about going into a CDO role to be successful.
I'll answer your question in two parts, Amy. The first one is for somebody who's in a CDO role. Let's get out of the CDO role for a minute. I would say anybody who's a leader in analytics and data, no matter what their title, they need to be extremely close to the business because you are making decisions for the business, right? It is decision support for the business. You would not exist in this role if there wasn't a business for which you need to provide decisions, right? So, networking, being seen as the trusted advisor for the CXO suite is very important, and building relationships at all levels. That is of paramount importance to someone who is in this role. For somebody who aspires to be in this role, I would say build your brand, right? Building your brand is very important. You need to be seen not as somebody who is, working at ABC Corporation or XYZ Corporation. You need to be seen as the industry thought leader on topic ABC, right? And you should be that go-to person. You should have a strong network and also have a lot of professional affiliations. And honestly, the one concept that I like to always advocate to people is to have strong brand ambassadors, which is a network of folks who will always say good things about you when you are not around, right? That is very important because at some point you have to be able to, you know, be able to traverse the various industry forums and councils, and the technology industry is not that big. The world is very small. So you have to have some great brand ambassadors who will also vouch for you.
Yeah, I think it's great advice in terms of also the affiliations and the networking because as you know, there's so much tech in the market today. It's hard to know everything, and the networking and the affiliations really let you learn from other people's successes and failures, not just in your own company, but around you. And I think it's more important now more than it has ever been because of the proliferation and the variety of technology that we have access to today. So I think that's all really great advice. Well, Lada, thank you for joining me today and sharing all of your experiences, your insight, your advice with the audience. And for the audience, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Have a great day.